Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And as promised, I am reviewing the May book for Peter's book club, which was called How to Solve Your Own Murder. And it is by Kristen Perrin. How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. And it is book 1 in the Castle Knoll Files. Now, I am back to my daily walks. I'm very proud of myself. And one of the things that has really motivated me to get out there and start walking again is listening to my audiobooks. And so last week, I started walking every night. Walked 5 nights or 6 nights in a row. And I started listening to this book. I had started it 2 or 3 times. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start this book over from the beginning. I just could not get into it. Somebody recommended this book for Peter's book club for May, and I started it and I would get into it, and I started it and I get into it, and I was like, I don't feel like it's really going anywhere, and I get 20 or 30 minutes in, and then I would just I'd stop it, right? And so I had started this book I think at the beginning of May or something like that. I'm currently listening to the June book for Peter's book club, which is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. It is the first book in the Thursday Murder Club book series, of which there are 4 out, and I have to tell you, I'm absolutely loving it. So let's get to How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. I didn't really know much about this book at all. I didn't know what to think about this book. It was kind of deemed as a cozy mystery a little bit, which is always interesting to me when some books get put into this category of cozy mystery. I remember, I think it was last fall, I read the book. It was called Mother-Daughter Night something. Do you guys remember that? It took place in the Pacific North Coast and or the Pacific West North Coast or whatever, the West Pacific. I don't know. It took place in Oregon or Washington. It was about a grandma that came up to live with her daughter and her granddaughter, and this murder occurred. And it was a murder mystery, but I don't know that I would necessarily consider it a cozy. For me, a cozy takes place in a very small town, and there's eccentric characters, and there's a lot of food and pets, and the murder or the mystery is not really hardcore, and it's kind of funny. There's funny just little things about the town and things like that. That's what I kind of consider a cozy mystery, right? I'm sure there's different definitions, but that's how I consider a cozy mystery, or what I consider a cozy mystery. So it's interesting when you read these different definitions of what a cozy mystery is, and I think this was deemed a cozy mystery. So let's read the synopsis for it first, okay? How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. And this is book 1 in the Castle Knoll Files. And this is and the book came out, let's see when it came out. I think it just came out, actually. March 26th of 2024, and it is 368 pages. And here is a very long synopsis. For fans of Knives Out and the Thursday Murder Club, I don't know that I would really compare it to either one of those. I think Thursday Murder Club is hilarious. I was telling my friend about this last night on the phone. It's so funny. And Thursday Murder Club, if you haven't started June's book yet, is about 4 people, 2 men, 2 women, that are in this a very secret private murder club at a retirement village community, and they all live there, and they're all between the ages of 70 and 80, and they are they go back and they revisit old cold cases because they're just interested in it. And then a crime happens, a murder happens, and so they're trying to solve it with the assistance of this police officer named Donna, and they're all of them hilarious. I mean, it's a super hilarious book, but the mystery is good too. I would consider Thursday Murder Club more of a cozy mystery, definitely, than this book. But anyway, and I don't think it's much like Knives Out at all. Maybe a little bit more like Knives Out, but for fans of Knives Out and the Thursday Murder Club, an enormously fun mystery about a woman who spends her entire life trying to prevent her foretold murder, only to be proven right 60 years later when she is found dead in her sprawling country estate. Now it's up to her great niece to catch the killer. It's 1965, and teenage Frances Adams is at an English country fair with her 2 best friends. But Frances's night takes a hairpin turn when a fortune teller makes a bone-chilling prediction. One day, Frances will be murdered. Frances spends a lifetime trying to solve a crime crime that hasn't happened yet, compiling dirt on every person who crosses her path in an effort to prevent her own demise. For decades, no one takes Frances seriously until nearly 60 years later when Frances is found murdered, like she always said she would be. In the present day, Annie Adams has been summoned to a meeting at the sprawling country estate of her wealthy and reclusive great-aunt Frances. But by the time Annie arrives in the quaint English village of Castle Knoll, Frances is already dead. Annie is determined to catch the killer, but thanks to Frances's lifelong habit of digging up secrets and lies, it seems every endearing and eccentric villager might just have a motive for her murder. Can Annie safely unravel the dark mystery of the heart of Castle Knoll, or will dredging up the past throw her into the path of a killer? As Annie gets closer to the truth and closer to the danger, she starts to fear she might inherit her aunt's fate instead of her fortune. Okay, so I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And the reason, I loved it. I loved the book, okay? I don't know that I would necessarily call it a cozy because it just didn't feel like that to me. But it was definitely a great mystery. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because it didn't have some huge, profound effect on me. It's not like a book that like I'm going to be talking about 2 years from now. Like, I have recommended this book, though, to quite a few people. It's interesting, though, that it goes in here and the publisher or the agent or whoever marketed it as a Thursday Murder Club or like Knives Out, the movie, because really what it reminds me of, and they actually reference her in the book, is this really seems like the new Agatha Christie. I mean, she's that great of a writer and that great of a mystery teller. The book goes back and forth between 1965, when Frances and her 2 friends, Emily and Rose, are at this country fair. And they get like a fortune from a fortune teller. The fortune doesn't come out and say that Frances is going to get murdered. It says like bones and queen in the hand. And it says, it's like this very like, you know, vague thing. But she takes it as she's going to get murdered. So she's always afraid to have like queens, like cards and stuff around her, like playing cards and all that kind of stuff. So she's like, takes every precaution possible. And bird in the hand is one of them. And her friend gives her this necklace of the sparrow. Then what happens is they're like hanging out with all these guys, and all these people live in the same small town of Castle Knoll. Some of them end up marrying these guys, and one of them is this very rich guy who Frances ends up marrying. Then her one friend ends up getting pregnant, Emily, and having a baby. The baby ends up being given up for adoption, and the Annie is the baby of that, she's the baby of that baby. So that's kind of the family connection. She's the great niece of Frances. So she and her mother live in London, and they live in this house that is owned by Frances and the estate, and her mom's like a thriving artist, and they live there, and she's afraid that the house is going to be taken care of her because great Aunt Frances is always taking care of everything. So, and the other thing is that this one friend, this Emily Sparrow, has gone missing, and they haven't found her since like 1970 or something like that. And so she goes up to Castle Knoll because she's summoned by her great aunt, and when she gets there, she's having like a meeting with the attorneys and things like that. And then they find out that Frances has been murdered, but they don't really know why and whatever. And so the whole thing is that it's between Frances, her great aunt, and this other guy. I can't think of his name right now. I'm going to say Sparrow, but that's not what it is. Spencer? No, it's something like that. But anyway, and he is like the nephew of the guy that she was married to. Why can I not think of what the guy's name is right now? This is going to drive me crazy. But anyway, it's between the 2 of them, and they have to solve the murder. If they can solve the murder, whoever solves the murder out of the 2 of them gets 100% of the estate, okay? Which is worth like millions of dollars, a farm, the house in London, on and on and on, right? The other person is left out of nothing. If they go to prison, they don't claim any of the money whatsoever. And then if the guy's name is on the top of my head. I mean, he's in the entire book. Okay. And then they also have a police detective who's supposed to be very handsome, this Detective Crane, and he is supposed to be solving the murder as well. And then there's also a guy that's in charge of the estate, okay? If neither one of those 2 people that are direct heirs of the family solve the murder, and they have a week to do it. If neither one of them solve it, or if the police detective solves it or somebody else does, then the estate is going to be sold to this guy, Oliver, who is in charge. He's the one that was there, in charge of basically the estate, and then he's like a real estate broker guy, and he's going to sell the whole thing off to like development. So basically, it's the whole town wants these 2 people. Spencer? Is that his name? The whole town wants these 2 people to solve the crime so that they can solve the murder, right? So it's really about this countdown for a week. Annie decides to work with this Detective Crane, even though the nephew encourages her to work with him. And what he said is because he's afraid, because of like these drug dealings that he's been doing, that he's going to go to jail. So the only way for him to get money if he ends up going to jail is if he works with her and solves a murder with her, and then she gives him part of the money. So that's the deal that he's trying to make with her. But then he tries to set her up so that she gets arrested for accepting stolen drugs. She sees it ahead of time, and so she ends up solving the whole murder, and of course she gets all the money and stuff like that. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. It's very much like a Agatha Christie. I mean, it really reminds me of old school Agatha Christie. It goes back in time, and it talks about relationships. It's like a chapter will be current day, like her looking into it, and then another chapter will be like 1965 through 1970 of like their friendships and their relationships, and why Frances always thought that somebody was going to try to kill her and things like that. It's very, very well done. And I loved it. And I thought that the detective was great in it. I thought the description of the town was really great. It goes in there and it talks. The thing is, it's very sad. It's a very sad book, because when I read the synopsis for it, I thought, oh, this is going to be kind of funny. Like, you know, not that this was funny, but it was going to be told kind of like eccentrically funny, that this older woman that her entire life had this prediction read to her that she was going to be murdered, then ends up murdered, and then like, you know, who did it kind of thing. It's like, I mean, it's very much a whodunit. So it's like, I thought it was going to be very like funny, tongue-in-cheek, which is very much what the synopsis said. It's not. It's a very sad story. It's a very sad story about this woman that just wanted to find love, and her friend that wanted to emulate everything about her, and the other friend that was really deceitful beyond belief and wanted anything to be like these two girls at any length, would murder somebody for it, and her son that felt like his mom had lost her mind and was just doing things to protect her, to heal her. I mean, it's a book about healing is really what it is. I mean, it's a whodunit, but the backstory to it is healing. I don't know that I think it's funny whatsoever. I mean, there were funny moments in it. There were funny things that were said, but I don't know that I would identify it as a, what was it told? A enormously fun mystery. I thought it was a sad mystery. It was also an intriguing mystery. I mean, it kept me going, and I will tell you that I had no clue how it all went down until the very end. I mean, there's enough characters. There's like this Archie guy that's like the one that runs the farm, and he and his family and his daughter Beth live on the farm, and she does all the cooking for the family. And there's people in town that like want the land. There's people, I mean, it's a small village. And so Frances, who has all the money that's murdered, she knows that if they don't solve the crime, the entire town, the village, that's never once believed her. Like, this is the other thing, right? It's like this woman for 60 years of her life has claimed that somebody is going to try to murder her, and the town has never believed her. They just thought that she was this crazy woman, right? And so she wants to prove to the town that this actually did happen and that she actually was murdered. And so the town's incentive to help them with it is that if they don't help her solve the murder, of which they never, so it's supposed to give some validity. It's really about, like, have you ever told something and nobody ever believes you? It's very much that, right? And like, she's been telling the story for 60 years to the town, and nobody's believed her. Her closest friends and family never believed her. They thought she was crazy. It was just off this prediction, right? And so she really wants people to take her seriously, even in her death. And so if she can get people, the town, to help the two people that are doing it, Sparrow, is that his name? Spencer Sparrow? No, Emily Sparrow was the girl. What's the guy's name? Why can't I think of what it is now? Oh, God, it's the tip of my tongue. Somebody's going to write it in the comment section below. But anyway, if she can get the town to help them, then the town's invested, because if either Annie, if either she or the nephew solve the case, then it's not going to be sold and the village won't be ruined. If they don't solve the case, then the village will be ruined, because they'll come in and they will put up apartment buildings, strip malls, pavement. They want to do like a parking lot is like one of the things that they want to do. So there's incentive for the town, but it's also because they, you know, she always, like, nobody ever believed her, and she lived a very lonely existence as a result of that. So anyway, yeah, like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a great book. I thought it was a fantastic mystery. I really did. Is it the best mystery I've ever read? No. Was I intrigued all the way through? Yes. I couldn't, like, there was one night that I was walking that I could have walked like 3 hours and kept on listening to it and finished it that night, but my legs just gave out. It is that good of a mystery. I would really, really highly recommend that, especially if you love like old school mysteries like Agatha Christie. It very much feels like that. I actually am kind of surprised it's not getting more attention than this. So the book is How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. It just came out this year. I would highly recommend it. And if you read it for this month, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Next month in July, I will be back with my review for The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I already am loving it. If you're not reading it yet, you should get to it. It's charming. It's a very charming book, and the characters just jump right off the page. They're that vibrant. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.